Learning earlier can make life easier and much safer. In real estate, they say location, location. In chainsaw works, it can be assured by notches and hinges.
Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.
Directional felling, or as in the West they call it falling, is important to safety as well as sight and log quality. Aiming the tree into a place long enough and wide enough without hazards and obstacles will reduce damage to the residual stand of trees and or other property. It can also reduce chances of operator injury or death by reducing the widowmaker and other struck by hazards in the tree work. The 70-degree Humboldt notch and open face notch are ways to accomplish this. The Humboldt notch is widely used in the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada. The Humboldt notch, although most likely will be less than, can be 70 degrees or more. One advantage of the Humboldt in larger trees is the butt of the tree will usually land on the ground before the top, whereas with the common notch, the top is more likely to hit first and sometimes break apart. The hinge can work with either notch technique if the opening is sufficient. In most other areas, the common or a variant called the open face notch is found. The 70 degrees or more face notch, whether Humboldt or open face, allows the hinge to work during the fall of the tree or movement of the severed limb or top. Any face notch, some call the undercut, can be made shallow in the tree, but most Humboldt notches are cut much deeper, close to the center of the stump. Moving the hinge closer to the center pulls fiber in the center. A hinge closer to the center on a back leaner tree, no matter the diameter, means not as much lifting power by the wedge, and the chance of the tree breaking off backwards is more probable. It's not the name of the notch that's important, but the understanding of how far the tree fiber is going to move before the notch closes. A notch of any type allows the hinge to work. The notch opening allows how far the movement will take place. A bypass or Dutchman in the notch will cause premature closing, pulling, and sometimes splitting. Remember, it's the entire plan information of hazards, leans, escape, hinge size, and back cut that give you the knowledge to choose the operator's felling technique. The hinge breaks from the back to the front. Long fibers are pulled because of the resistance of the ring growth or because the notch completed the movement, this causing the hinge fiber to split or pull. The felling or gunning sights on the chainsaw can be used to plan the lay and control of the tree.
Look at what your angle is right now. You're cutting down like this. It's going to limit your top.
How much movement before it binds my hinge out?
If you're cutting in straighter like this, then it comes in at 70. You're not going to have 70 if you come in straight.
It's going to be like 60 or something like that.
Or less.
Okay. So, whenever I set up.
All right, you want to level up now. Make sure you're level. Okay, now don't move any position. Just take your saw out of the curve. Turn it over and look at this corner down there.
Oh, okay.
You want, and then you come over here and take it off. You can look into that top cut to make the bottom cut meet.
Look into the top cut.
Yeah, like you had to come back on yours, you had to make 2 cuts.
Yes.
So here, if you think about it, if I stay level here and I don't move, if I start right here and come around, because the saw is set, this sets up your 70-degree opening.
with the 30 degrees off. And then when you flip it over, that bar level stays exactly the same. So as long as if I cut down here following my line and then I turn the saw here, I really don't even have to look on that side. As long as I don't change my arm length position, it's going to come right back into that face notch.
With the open face, it's preferred to make the top cut first more vertical, so you can look into the top cut to make the bottom cut meet without changing your position in sight. Holding today's saws in the upper handlebar will put the saw at approximately 30 degrees off vertical. When completing the desired depth into the tree and a horizontal cut is made, the notch removed is 70 degrees. Slight angle up from the level will produce even more notch opening if more tree or limb movement is required. You can see from this photo simulation 90 degrees, 70, and the common 45 degrees.
Added that to measure. You're doggone close to 70 degrees.
When the notch closes, the tree or limb movement loses its hinge control. A straight tree with a 45-degree notch only controls halfway to the ground. It also can promote a rebound of the stem's butt toward the operator and rearward of the stump. This is the reason it is recommended to have a stump shot, a higher back cut than the notch, especially if using less than a 70-degree open notch. The stump shot doesn't always control, however, and a hinge attached to reach the 70-degree position is more reliable. The tree will steer to the direction of the hinge if the plan and notch are made correctly.
So put your saw back up in there now and look down your line and see where it was actually aimed.
The felling or gunning sights on the saw are utilized for placement. No difference in bar length, just position. In choosing the back cut technique, the consideration is whether the sawyer can produce the hinge dimensions desired before the tree begins to move. If the back cut cannot establish the desired hinge before movement, then a bore and back release can be utilized. This enables the hinge dimensions to be set before tree movement. You can see the hinge broke from the back and is still holding in the front. Too thick of a hinge will pull fiber from the log or the stump with any technique. It may even cause splitting or barber chair. A good way to see this is to make a thin slice. You can slice a small piece and see how deep the fiber is separated. Think about this. A notch and hinge farther into the stump will pull in more expensive wood. Fiber too thick or missed by any back cut technique will pull from the log and can affect wedging and steering also. When cut through, it was holding quite a bit of pressure in the tree to the stump. The hinge fiber pulled in the waning trim of the log and not pulled in the valuable cylinder or planking. Consider wherever the hinge is located in the log, it will cause some pulling and splitting when breaking. Oftentimes the pulling fiber is there, but you can't see it till the mill starts cutting into boards or peeling. It looks smooth but falls apart when the saw blade reaches the area. That's the reason a mill will require the cutter to add trim to each end of the log. A notch can be used not only for felling, but for control of many situations. A notch and hinge can be used to control and increase safety during storm and hanger removals. Slashing these situations down can be surprising, but with a notch and hinge, more predictable. Custom cuts like offsets and tongue and groove can be used to limit movement by the operator if limited movement is required, or equipment can be utilized in the next steps, breaking them apart. The notch and hinge can also be used to lower weight or control the lowering of a hanger. Just slashing down a hanger can be very dangerous. Use a notch and hinge to better control the movement. Offset cuts and tongue and grooves can be used to buck pressured or storm logs. especially when equipment is going to be utilized. However, notches and hinges can be a much better choice when control for the sawyer safety or control of movement is needed. Remember, it's the entire plan information of hazards, leans, escape, hinge size, and back cut that give you the knowledge to choose the operator's felling technique.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.